Welcome. Welcome to Science, Health and Healing Library of Children's Health Core. I'm Dr. Majid Ali. The subject of this article is Childhood Diabetes 2, an Epidemic Predicted. I have made a large number of predictions in the past about the future trends of illnesses that spread in epidemic proportions. Back in the closing months of 2001, I published my book, September 11, 2005. It was a book of predictions written in a fictionalized past tense to clearly state what I foresaw to be the immediate, intermediate, and long-term consequences of the events of cataclysmic World Trade Center 9/11 inferno. Anybody can read that book today and know that all the predictions came true. Similarly, I predicted the illness of veterans of the first Gulf War as well as the veterans of the Iraq War. The basis of my predictions have always been the oxygen order of the evolutionary design for the human body. Whenever the oxygen metabolism is threatened, oxygen signaling, oxygen detox function, oxygen-driven ATP energy productions in mitochondria, oxygen-driven clues, mechanisms for cellular renewal and healing of injured tissues. So whenever I foresee incremental threats to the health of any group of people, it seems to me a certain 100% safe prediction to make that epidemic illness will happen. It is very saddening for me to make this prediction, childhood diabetes 2, an epidemic predicted. A report in the spring of 2012 published some results. This actually validated what I have published in my book, Dr. Ali's Plan of Reversing Diabetes, and I wrote about childhood type 2 diabetes. The report said that from year 2002 to 2005, an average of 3,600 children were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which 50 years ago was almost unheard of. Type 1 diabetes is where the pancreas, as a result of an acute injury, stops producing insulin. And the child is acutely sick, gets diagnosed, usually in a hospital setting, and insulin has to be given to save that child's life. Type 2 diabetes, the so-called adult onset type diabetes, is an altogether different problem. This is a problem where there is too much insulin, and that's because insulin is not working, and that's because insulin receptor protein embedded in the cell membrane is immobilized. So insulin cannot put the sugar into the cells for metabolism, and the pancreas keeps producing more and more insulin. Excess insulin is fattening, it is inflaming, it damages all cellular populations of the body. So as I'm beginning to see the problem of childhood obesity, incremental rises in childhood asthma, childhood eczema, childhood mold allergy, childhood kidney stones, you name one disease for children, whether you talk about developmental problems, Asperger's, I will show you rising incidences, and the commonality is dysfunctional oxygen metabolism When you dig deeper and deeper and deeper, that's the commonality. And that's the reason for my making prediction. Now I'll give you some numbers. First of all, I think this estimate of 3,600 children in the United States with type 2 diabetes from year 2002 to 2005 is a gross underestimated estimation in light of what I observe in my own practice. 40% of New York City children are either overweight or flat out obese. I predict that the next time childhood type 2 diabetes statistics are published, there would be at least 1,000% or more increase in the number of the new cases of childhood type 2 diabetes. This program is part of my effort to offer you information in various segments at this channel of Children's Health Cohort. This is a foundation that my wife Talat and I founded about 4 years ago to disseminate authentic information about children's health issues worldwide, untainted by corporate deceptions. So here are the statistics in this recent report. Metformin alone failed in 52% of children with type 2 diabetes. Metformin plus a diabetes drug called rosiglitazone failed in 39%. Metformin plus the diet program failed in 47%. Metformin alone was least effective in American children of African descent. There were high failure rates even with the strict adherence to their treatment programs. This comes straight out of this article. Strict adherence to what program? I read that article. There is not a single word about bowel detox, liver detox, blood detox, not a single word about attempts to lower the insulin. Remember, the fundamental problem in childhood type 2 diabetes is excess insulin. What we need to do is to reduce insulin by degreasing the bodies, restoring the health of the cell membrane, and freeing up the insulin receptor protein. But the treatment was given to these close to 700 children was exactly opposite. Their focus was on glucose. You can never detect diabetes at an early stage. You can never prevent diabetes. You can never reverse diabetes as long as your focus is on the glucose. And that is the tragedy of the treatment of type 2 diabetes in children. Please look at the other programs in this channel. This study is it only validates what I have been writing personally for several years. I published my oxygen model of diabetes about 15 years ago. I have published a very large number of profiles illustrating every point that I've made in this part 1 of my series on childhood diabetes type 2. Thank you for joining me, and please do join me again. Until then, may you be gracious, graceful, and generous in your spirit. Thank you so much.